All right, thank you. So again, we are recording today. If you would not like your contributions to be recorded, please use the chat. And speaking of which, here we just have some Zoom reminders for you all. But first, hi, I'm Betsy Bella. I am with the STEP support team and have been coordinating with DDS on these efforts. Some familiar names on as well, and we're also always excited to see new names in the technical assistance calls. Today, we're really excited to be joined by DDS for this session. We have Elba Caraballo, the DDS Director of Housing today, to talk about strategies and options for supporting people to remain in independent living arrangements with a focus on financial challenges. So a quick Zoom tips refresher. If your Zoom has updated, your icons might look a little different, but they're still in the same places. So we do have closed captioning enabled on today's call. You can click it where you see CC show captions. If that's not showing up, if you click under more, it should pop up as an option. We do love to have these sessions be interactive. So if you'd like to join us on video, go ahead and click start video to turn your camera. You can always turn it back off as well. We'll have opportunities for discussion and questions throughout. So please go ahead and click unmute to speak, or you can use the chat to write to the group. Please just make sure you're sending your chat to everyone so that folks can see it in the mix. So again, we are excited to hear from Elba today, but also to hear from all of you. Both comments and questions are welcome. So some of you know we like to kick these off with a quick poll. So I'd love to ask, when you are related to the supporting transformation to empower people efforts, how far along are you in developing your STEP plan? Have you not started one? Does that mean you're still kind of in that stage of, I don't know if we want to do this or not? Are you in progress? You know, you've either started planning internally with your organization, or you've even started putting pieces on paper, or perhaps you've submitted and are approved. So we'll give folks a few moments to go ahead and respond there. Got room for a couple more answers yet. So give that one more moment. All right, we've got most folks answered, so we'll go ahead and the poll. And then we can see we've got a real mix of folks on the line. This is actually, I think, the most haven't started, and that's a-okay. And actually, this session should be useful for you, even if your organization isn't going to participate officially in the STEP incentive program, but where some of the information as you are coordinating with individuals to support independent living will certainly be helpful. Wonderful. All right. So again, we're looking forward to hearing from you all today. Please feel free to put your name and agency in the chat. And before we kick off too much further, I would like to note that today is the last scheduled STEP TA session, but DDS will still be here to support. So they remain committed to supporting providers to submit and implement their STEP transformation plans. If you have specific questions related to STEP, your resource administrator for your region is a great place to start, and they can help connect you to others in DDS as appropriate. So if you're in the North region, that's Normand Rio, David in the South region, and John Adams in the West region. As part of STEP, in addition to working with providers on transformation plan, DDS has also moved other efforts forward. The initiative emphasizes efforts to support individuals, to build natural supports in the communities, get the assistive technology resources they need to improve their independence, and find ways to live and work sustainably in their community, among other key areas. So as DDS has continued to hear opportunities and concerns from providers like you all on today, they've also looked into some other changes, like updating the rental assistance program. So that's part of what we're here to discuss today, sustainable independent living. We've heard this topic frequently from families, case managers, and of course, providers, right? There's this concern about if someone's moving from a CLA or even a CRS and into individualized settings in the community, there are, additional challenges financially that can come with that. So a critical part of STEP's really been supporting individuals who are interested in independent living to make these kinds of transitions and to do it with confidence and appropriate safety nets, so that they can return to their original supports or be ready to move forward long term. DDS also recognizes that when someone moves from a congregate residential setting, especially a CLA, to their own place, of course, the new costs individual. So today, we're excited to have Elba here to offer some strategies for how to sustain these transitions over the long term. So I am excited to welcome the DDS Director of Housing, Dr. Elba Caraballo. Elba, you're on mute.
Good morning.
Morning.
I am excited to be here with you and to be able to share information about ways that we can encourage individuals who we serve who would be appropriate and are appropriate for independent living to explore those options and take advantage of those options. And so okay. First of all, let me explain my role. As the Director of Housing, I function as almost a high-level traffic cop. I try to connect providers and case managers, individuals and families with different options that are related to housing, to independent housing. That's a big emphasis that we have now at DDS. And so my job is to see that we can fully exploit all of the options that are available to us. Secondly, you probably have heard my name more consistently associated with the supportive housing program. It's a major initiative. I know all of you are familiar with that program, and I now serve as the manager for the supportive housing effort. Again, it's a high-level traffic cop. My job is to work with you as providers to partner with and to connect you with and help you partner, excuse me, with developers who may be doing work in your area and may be looking for partners so that they can apply for tax credits, et cetera, so they can provide affordable and safe housing and you set units aside for individuals that we support. And so we have established a process where we support you in having those partnerships. And so it's slightly different than IHS, similar but different, and primarily different in that we have multiple units in each development. They'll never be more than 25% of the units in the development, and can go as high as 20 units depending on the size of the development. And so there are some economies of scale that we are able to take advantage of when we have individuals who all live that close to each other, proximate to each other. And so so my job is to work with you to answer any questions that you have about that, to connect you with the developers, and to participate in the process, in the development process, and in making sure that we're able to negotiate the kinds of accommodations that we would need for individuals that we support for them to live independently in supportive housing. So that's basically my role. I also have become the almost point person on RAP and Section 8 questions. And each one of the regions has an individual with whom I believe you are familiar, who monitors and keeps track of our subsidy programs and who the recipients are, et cetera. But invariably, we end up having questions that end up getting bumped up to me. And so I try to use my network at my level to resolve those issues and to effectively address some of the challenges that come up and ensure that the individuals that we serve do have full access to both Section 8 and RAP vouchers. The other thing to know about RAP vouchers is that when an individual agrees to move into a supportive housing unit, a RAP voucher is already assigned to that unit. So they bypass the waiting list because that unit has a RAP voucher already assigned. Okay. I believe that you're somewhat familiar with both Section 8 and RAP, but let me just give you a little bit of an overview. The Section 8 and RAP vouchers are both managed by the state Department of Housing. They have different funding sources, though. The primary funding source for Section 8 is the Federal Department of Housing, HUD, Housing and Urban Development at the federal level, and they set the rules and basically make the final determinations in terms of how those subsidies are used and are deployed. The state of Connecticut, I can't tell you how long ago, I don't know, but over 10 years ago, determined that the Section 8 waiting lists were just inordinate, and that was really causing a barrier for our ability to help individuals to live independently and to address the problem of the homeless population that we were experiencing primarily in the larger cities. And so they developed the Rental Assistance Program. You may know it as RAP. The RAP program is exactly this, functions and operates exactly the same way that Section 8 operates. The only distinction is that the funding is state funding. And so the only, I would say, glitch in the rules is if there's an individual who has a RAP voucher and is looking to move out of state, perhaps with family or for whatever reason, looking to move out of state, the RAP voucher will not travel with them. So the RAP voucher is limited to anywhere within the state of Connecticut. Section 8 vouchers, however, because they're federally funded, an individual who moves out of state is able to port their Section 8 certificate at that with them. Okay, as you know, there are long waiting lists for both of these. One of the things that I have learned since coming onto this job, and that I would encourage you to do, is whomever you or your point person is around housing needs and housing issues, that you go on the Housing and Urban, the Housing Department of Housing website, and you register for a notice on when housing becomes available. And it's actually when waiting lists open. So, and what happens is you get an email that tells you these are the waiting lists that are open. This is how long they'll be open, and these are the areas, you know, that are covered, the geographic areas that are covered by this program, and then you can pursue getting your individuals that you support on that list, if that is something that that they're interested in doing. As you well know, both of those lists are lengthy, and getting a voucher sometimes takes some time.
We have a question in the chat from
Okay.
Lisa. If the individual leaves the apartment that has a RAP certificate attached to it, will the RAP certificate follow that individual if they move?
Great question. The RAP certificate is tied to the apartment when it's part of a development that we've partnered with. However, the Department of Housing, we will provide a RAP voucher for an individual who chooses to move out. So that individual is not, technically they're leaving the RAP voucher behind, but they're getting a new RAP voucher that will travel with them as long as they stay within the state of Connecticut. So they don't lose having a subsidy. The best way to explain it. And that's an important distinction. Thank you for that question, because that's one of the things that makes people nervous about, you know, what if I go to Section 8 and what if I go, I'm sorry, to supportive housing, and then I decide that it's not for me, or I want to live someplace else, etc. Will I have to give up my subsidy? And the answer is no. Okay, thank you for that question.
And a follow-on question from Suzanne. If an individual gets rent subsidy from DDS, is there any benefit to that individual applying for RAP and or Section 8?
The benefit is, that's a very good question. And the answer might be a little complex, because what we would want to do is we would want to compare what their, if the subsidy supports them better, allows them to have more discretionary funds, or if the vouchers, would support them better. So I think that my position is always no harm, no foul. I think that if you get on the waiting list and you can apply, you do that, you get on the waiting list, and then together with the case manager, you as the provider take a look at what the options are and what the benefits are, and then weigh them out for that individual. Obviously, as you can imagine, it will vary from individual to individual. And sometimes the RAP and Section 8 vouchers are more robust in terms of their funding. And oftentimes landlords and property managers prefer them might be a stretch, like them because they get paid directly from the state. That portion gets paid directly to them from the state. And the other thing that I would say for providers, and that's going from the sublime to the mundane, so you'll have to forgive me, is that they are reviewed annually. So those of you who have individuals who have RAP vouchers or Section 8 vouchers know that there's a whole lot of reporting that you do once a year, versus with our, with the DDS rental assistance program, it's a little bit of a heavier lift for providers, because there's a lot of documentation that is required, sometimes monthly, sometimes quarterly, depending on how you are, you have worked it out with the region. But it's almost like doing those annual reports every month. On the upside, when the end of the year comes, you have all of your documentation ready because you've looked at it by quarter. On the downside, that's a lot of labor. So okay, the RAP vouchers and Section 8 vouchers are income determined. And so they have actually an identical income designation, maximum income designation. So individuals whose income is higher than whatever that designation happens to be. And I know it sounds like I'm talking in circles, but it's actually 30% of the area median income. And again, that sounds, a little bit like gobbledygook possibly to you, but the Department of Housing and Urban Development puts out annually what the median income is for different geographic areas, and they then indicate what the cutoff is for 30% of area median income. There is a table that provides that information. I made it available to case managers through their supervisors, and can have it distributed to you all from Deputy Commissioner Villardo's office, and I'd be happy to do that. However, you should know it often changes. It's supposed to be annually, but often it changes more often. So I could send you a list. It would be outdated. So perhaps what makes more sense is for me to get you the website link, and then that way you could check that more regularly yourself. And I'm making a note to do that. Okay. Individuals with that. Okay. And I just mentioned that individuals who are interested in securing a voucher should probably apply for both. The programs operate independently, and so the individual that you're attempting to support may come up in the Section 8 voucher because of the geographic area where there might not be any RAPs available, or the other way around. So it makes sense to apply for both. And the applications are very similar. They're daunting, but they're very similar. They ask for the same kind of information. And as I alluded to a minute ago, the eligibility is evaluated annually. I want to just put something in here. You know that we have started another, DDS has started another sort of major push around employment. And we're looking to increase the extent to which individuals that we support are able to compete in the labor market, in the open labor market. And we are working really hard, diligently, to establish employment opportunities for individuals that we support. And that's exciting and it's wonderful. It also has an impact on their income. And an individual's income is evaluated, is assessed annually. What will happen and has happened, and we have several providers who have been contending with this, I like to call it a happy problem, but it's a problem nonetheless, is that as individuals' income goes up, so does the amount of their rent that they're responsible for. And so they may have increased their income by, I don't know, let's just say $200 a month, and now their rental income goes up by $40 a month or $50 a month. And I think individuals don't quite understand why my rent goes up. I thought I was earning this money for me. And it just raises a lot of questions. And I think as providers, you want to be aware of that. And I've been working with case managers to make sure that they understand that that's coming. And so they can actually prepare individuals and individuals' families and support networks that may be coming. And, you know, the way to reframe that is, well, they have the additional income that's not being tapped for rent that does come to them. And so, you know, there's, I guess I have to say, there's no such thing as a free lunch. As your income goes up, so does your responsibility for your personal expenses. And so that's I just think it's an important component to keep in mind. The Department of Housing has down payment assistance programs. Unfortunately, both of them are closed right now, to us anyway. The programs are only open right now for the chronically homeless. Nonetheless, the program is not going away, and I'm keeping tabs on that very closely, because as soon as that opens up, there's both moving assistance and down payment assistance that's available. They have two programs. One is a grant and the other is a loan. As soon as those open up again, which I'm hoping could be as soon as July 1, but I haven't heard yet. We will be able to apply to have the individuals we support take advantage of that service as well. As many of you know, a lot of times the down payment component is one of the barriers to really being able to move on to a more independent living situation. Okay, I'd like to touch a little bit on the role of providers, on your role in terms of encouraging and enabling individuals to move to more independent living situations. It is that the amount of communication, first of all, training that you do for your staff so that they understand this is a priority and should be something that's in conversation often, is extremely important. The individuals who are actually there day to day working with the individuals that we support are the ones that hear complaints like, I wish I didn't have to eat when everybody else eats, or I wish I could stay out longer, or it would be really nice to have more private space. And they could just be saying that while they're whatever, you know, just doing whatever they're doing, grocery shopping or whatever they're doing. That's an opportunity and an opening for a conversation about independent living. And so, and moving to a more independent situation. And so, again, that should be a significant component of day-to-day conversations. However, it is also important to make sure that we're providing full information to individuals and their families, the individuals we support and their families. And a significant piece is that they take on more responsibility. They have more new financial responsibilities. There's more money management that they're doing on their own. There might be some preparation that you could do with them around that. It certainly becomes part of the plan when they move out and we look at their care plan, their ability to manage their resources, or to have someone in their family. Basically, the point is that DDS will not be managing all of the resources, that they will be responsible themselves or their support network, their family, or whomever is supporting them. supportive housing option, I cannot encourage you enough to keep an eye out for, I don't know if you get information from your planning commissions or to keep your ear to the ground about new developments that are coming in the areas. I assure you that all developers are looking for ways to pull together their funding. And one of the ways to pull together their funding is to get a tax relief that comes from a variety of sources. Sometimes it's because they're going into a more challenged area, but another way, the way that we get to play, if you will, is that if they're setting aside units for special populations, they get a tax credit. And so there's a competitive process where they get a tax credit, and then there's a which is for 9% and more minutia than you might want to know, but the non-competitive process is actually for 4%. And so as you can see, they're very interested in getting their ducks in a row, if you will, about what populations they can serve and how they can support them early. Since we have been, this is a bad analogy, but I apologize. Since we have been in the game, we have had a lot of success. Serving our population has brought a lot of success to developers. And the deadline for the funding that just happened was January, I don't know, 9th or something like that. By the end of January, I already had several developers reaching out to me to see if we had a provider that might be interested in partnering for next year's cycle, which isn't even due till January of 25. So as you can see, that we are now seen as a viable player in terms of the development of housing, affordable housing, which, as you know, is a big federal push, but also housing for special populations. Our individuals make good tenants. I always say we, because we're part of the game, but the individuals that we support make great tenants. First of all, there's a low rate of mobility. Second of all, they bring services. And third of all, which I hadn't thought about until the regional director from the South region pointed out, they're unlikely to drive cars. So that's usually 1 or 2 parking spaces, which are at a premium always, that are available. And so I think that those are the components that make our tenants, really good tenants. Really the largest component, to be serious, is the fact that you're involved. The fact that they are receiving services, that they have a provider, that they have a network that backs up these individuals as they have life changes or as anything happens. There is a provider of services that is diligently addressing the needs of these individuals. So those are the high points, and those are the points that you could take as you interact with existing developments in your area. So we have right now, I'm sure you heard, I hope you've heard it several times, that we currently have an NOO out for what we call non-project based supportive housing. We weren't really creative with the words. Project-based supportive housing is what we started when we work with developers from the ground up. Non-project based simply means it's an existing development that that partners with us to provide housing units for individuals that we support, and that the individual will get a voucher, a WRAP voucher. And again, there are those points that where we make good tenants. And so I encourage you to identify projects that you see in your area, developments, housing complexes that you see in your area, and that you seek out the property manager and or the property owner to discuss with them the possibility of the individuals that we support becoming tenants with them. What I would encourage you to do is, it's okay if they have no, the answer is, oh, we don't have any, we're full, we don't have any capacity, we don't have anyone that's moving. That's fine. We just want to let you know about the individuals that we support and about our ongoing interest, our long-term interest in any availability that may happen. And you may end up getting a partnership. You may end up, someone may provide 1 unit or 2 units. We're looking to start small. Sometimes the cautionary approach comes both from the property manager and from you as the provider. Am I getting into more than I really want to handle when I look at supportive housing? Well, this is a really low challenge way of testing the waters in terms of doing supportive housing by, establishing a partnership and having 1 or 2 units. I am available to coach you. I'm available to go with you to meetings with developers, to do the pitch or whatever. I'm available to, my goal is to increase the availability of supportive housing in whatever way, as long as it's not immoral or illegal. And so I'm game. So I'd be happy to join you at a meeting, to work with you or whomever it is you have delegated the housing or supportive housing or more independent housing responsibility to. And then, are there any questions?
Yes, there's a question about who the main audience for that notice of opportunity is. Is it for providers or builders?
Providers. That notice of opportunity is specifically for you guys, for providers, because we're looking to target, excuse me, housing developments that are already in existence, that are already operational. So we're looking to establish relationships with them. And once you establish a relationship, we could be talking about a month or 2 before you have someone in an apartment versus a year or 2 before you have someone in an apartment. And so that's the other, I think, upside of the non-project based housing opportunity. In terms of case managers and what perhaps you can expect from case managers, we've been working very hard. I've been working very hard to make sure that they have the information that you need, that the individuals that you support need, that the families need, in order to explore independent living. They can begin the process of applying for the rental assistance program. They're the point person. When we talk to individuals, we always say the punchline always is, well, speak to you. The point of entry is speak to your case manager, speak to your case manager. And so we're very adamant and committed to ensuring that our case managers are able to help individuals get access a more independent living situation, especially when it improves their quality of life. I mean, there's just something to autonomy that you can't, match. And that's what we have heard from individuals who have made this transition. We will work with the case managers will work with the families and the individuals to have them understand the process, to bring them along so that there are no surprises, so that they know what they can expect. We actually have held some open houses at existing developments, just so that family members and individuals who are interested might come to an open house to see what an existing supportive housing development, how it is set up. And much to our delight, several of the individuals that we support who are now living in supportive housing are just thrilled to open their apartments and let other people see. They're very proud of the way that they live independently. And they're, believe me, they're the best pitch for someone who might be considering it, because there's someone who's walked the walk, who's been in the situation that the individuals that you're supporting are in. So, and you understand it as well, that this is a program that builds on the IHS program. It really takes the IHS program and the cluster IHS program to the next level. We try to increase the amount of service that's available, and we're really looking to move that to the next level. I just, oh yeah. So I spoke a little bit about the down payment assistance. I wanted to just encourage you, and when I say you, I mean you as the executive director or you as the individual who has the primary responsibility for housing items is to know, for housing issues, is to know and be familiar with different assistance programs that are available out there. Once someone is living in supportive housing, they're eligible for assistance with utilities. And so if they are responsible for their own utilities, which they usually are, then there are programs that they are eligible for utility assistance. And usually the best source of information about utility assistance is the utilities, the utility company. And so it's really important to spend some time making sure that our individuals are connected to those resources. As you know, food insecurity is one of the big challenges that we're facing as a society, and we want to make sure that our individuals are not facing that challenge without any resources. And so there's Meals on Wheels, you all are familiar with that, and their food banks. And so there are different resources, many of which, actually most of which, are community-based. We don't even know that they're there. It's not like you can go to a website and find all the churches that do the Friday meals for social events, for socialization for the community, and to help with the food insecurity issue. And so once you know, that's one of the, I would say, additional benefits of supportive housing is that once we have individuals in that community, then the case managers and the providers can become aware of the different support systems and services that are available in the community that really fall under the radar. So they're just busy doing what they're doing to help community residents, and they haven't gotten to the point of, having a website or being on the 411 list, et cetera, but they are there and they do provide assistance, and they do have resources to share. And if they're there, we want to make sure that our individuals have access to them. I will stop there, and I just want to say again, please call me, please reach out to me. I'm interested in doing whatever is necessary that helps you move towards the provision of more supportive housing and getting individuals to live more independently. And thank you for this opportunity. Any questions, comments?
Thank you so much, Elva. As always, a wealth of knowledge. We do have a question already in the chat, and I'd encourage folks to either enter questions in the chat or come off mute. But if you work with a developer for 4 units, what happens if a unit becomes vacant? Does the provider have to cover that rent cost until someone else moves in?
That's a really good question. The unit is, well, if it's the non-project based model, then you have the right of first refusal to fill the unit. And so we encourage you to have waiting lists, to have people queued up that are waiting for an opportunity to live independently so that you can fill the unit, as quickly as possible. If you're not able to fill the unit, then the property manager will have individuals who will be queued up because they always have a waiting list for the apartment. In the supportive housing situation, I believe I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. I will have to get back to you on information. It's a great question. And I will attend the next provider meeting and have that information for you. I'll make sure I get on the agenda just at least to be able to answer that question, because I think it's an excellent question. I believe that we help cover the cost for a set period of time, but before I start committing the commissioner to something he's not ready for, let me check that out and see. I think the Department of Housing may work with us on covering that, because we want to make sure that we maintain those units for individuals that we support. So thank you for that question, because it helps me speak to the idea of having a waiting list. I'm talking about, having 1 or 2 folks that are in the queue that would be excellent or a good candidates for more independent living, so that you're able to move quickly on that.
Thank you. Other questions from the group?
Hi, this is Margie from RMS. I do have a couple of questions. The first is, I was wondering if there is a deadline for that notice of opportunity for the non-project-based supportive housing?
It's a rolling opportunity, notice of opportunity. Okay. So yeah, I encourage you to, it's as long as the resources last. And I think there may be a deadline out there somewhere, but I don't know what it is. But when I say out there somewhere, literally sometime in 25. So please explore that.
Wonderful, thank you. My second question is, are these programs available only to individuals who are coming from a more restrictive setting, or if there are individuals currently in IHS who would benefit, would they also be eligible?
They absolutely are eligible, would be eligible for the supportive housing. What often is the case is that individuals who are in IHS are in units, for example, that it's very difficult for them to deal with their physical limitations. There just are some barriers. And in the supportive housing, especially in the apartment complexes, they tend to be designed with more accessibility issues are addressed. And so if it improves their quality of life, they're absolutely eligible.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for the question.
And then additionally, if somebody is in a congregate setting and is transitioning to community, if you have an approved step plan, the provider would be eligible for additional one-time incentives related to that transition. But yes, absolutely. What Elva's covering today is more broadly available.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa, I saw you come off mute. Do you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to follow up. When you said that they're and the non-project base, they have the right of first refusal. So if we don't have someone to move in and the builder says, I have somebody, does that, is that moving them into like the RAP assistance, or does that go away if it's not a DDS person?
Okay, in the project-based supportive housing, when we have partnered with a developer, the RAP voucher stays with the apartment. If the individual who is if our individual who is vacating the apartment is moving somewhere else, they will get a RAP voucher that they take with them. In the non-project based scenario, usually the property managers are counting the individuals that we support as special population. So they're using those numbers to report to HUD that they're meeting their criteria. However, that's not necessarily a requirement for them or for us, for that matter. And so when it's non-project based housing, the individual that we support could have moved into a market rate, affordable housing unit, and they could be using their RAP voucher. When they move, they take their RAP voucher with them because that RAP voucher comes with them. So when they vacate, they take that RAP voucher with them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Actually, Elba, can we get your contact information, please?
Absolutely. Let me put it in the chat.
Thank you.
I'm also including in the chat the direct link to the rolling notice of opportunity around non-project based supportive housing.
Thank you.
All right. The Deputy Commissioner Velardo, has been able to join us. I'd like to invite her to share some comments.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to say I'm really excited to see the number of people who've logged on today. I think it was a great overview of the housing opportunities that are available, and really, Elby, you did a great job of highlighting some of the things that we've really been focused on over the last year. The difference between rent subsidy and the various RAP vouchers, the opportunities around the project-based supportive housing and the non-project-based. I really encourage you to read the notice of opportunity for the non-project based. I think it answers some of the questions, and we do have our providers meeting this Thursday. So any of the questions that we weren't able to fully respond to today, we can make sure we have on the agenda for Thursday. But this is a moment in time where we have really opened up housing opportunities to people. IHS, people that need IHS supports, clustered IHS supports, a combination of IHS and technology. This is a moment in time where we have been able to approve funding for people that are seeking that type of support, and then looking at that, as Betsy said, as part of in conjunction with some of the incentives that are currently available, and knowing that there's rental assistance vouchers available. This really is a unique moment in time, one that I can't recall in the last decade. And so I'm really glad that people have been so engaged, that there have been so many questions, and we can make sure we reiterate in the provider meeting on Thursday, so that if there are people that weren't able to attend today, or if there are outstanding questions, or if you leave today's session and you think of additional questions, we have the opportunity for that follow-up conversation. So thank you. I'm really, really thrilled at the number of people that are participating and the quality of the conversation.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. And as a reiterated moment for everybody, although Deloitte will be stepping away at the end of the month, with the support we've been able to provide, as you can see, you've got wonderful resources at DDS who will be able to continue support with whatever efforts you are pushing forward related to STEP and supporting individuals to increase their independence. So before folks drop, we wanted to also ask if you are, now again, I'd like to note that the notice of opportunity is open regardless of STEP participation, and as are the rental assistance programs. But we do have another poll related to STEP plans, and the question being, is your organization planning to submit a STEP plan? So this is your transformation plan. If you are planning a residential plan, a day and employment plan, perhaps both. And we already know that many of you have already submitted. So again, we'd encourage folks to get those in sooner rather than later. Many of the funds have already been allocated, and so you want to make sure to take advantage of, as Deputy Commissioner Vardo noted, some really incredible opportunities coming together in the current time period. All right, so we'll go ahead and share those results. It makes sense we don't have anyone doing just a day and employment plan on today for this residential session, but really love to see those numbers. They're very encouraging. It has been an honor to work with you all as part of this STEP process, and we look forward to continuing to hear and see what happens with Connecticut supports to individuals with intellectual disabilities in the years to come. Right, so I'll stay on if folks have any questions, but that does end our session. Thank you again to Elba and Deputy Commissioner Velardo for their comments today. And please note that Elba has included not only her email address, but also her cell phone number in the chat. So again, as she said, she's willing to support anything that's not illegal, unethical, or immoral for getting in front of providers and forming these relationships. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
do folks have, no, and end the recording?